Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It is the South African Closed Round 5 2026 and it has been a very interesting tournament so far. It has not been the players you expect to leading. It's always difficult because there are like 5 international masters in the open section, all of whom you could put it on at any point to win. We know that Chess Prodigy, I've covered him on the channel, young international master Caleb Levitan, is in contention for the lead. So was his brother, Judah. So is the man on screen, Jan Karsten. And if he gets a couple of wins, so will the international master on the screen, Michael Simpson, one of South Africa's newly minted IMs. So it's a very open field. One game to show you, because the winner of this game leads the whole field after 5 rounds. We have e4, e5, knight to f3, and knight to c6. We have bishop to c4, and knight to f6. Now you and I would play something like a knight to g5, but we get d3. Bishop to c5, knight to c3. Always an interesting thing when in the Italian the knight goes to c3, because typically you want to play c3 and like a d4. So always interesting when you see the knight go out to c3. We get h6, short castles, bishop to e3. Now d6, bishop takes, d6, pawn takes d6. Pawn takes c5. Sorry, it was bishop on d3 takes c5. Pawn on d6 takes c5. h3, a6, a4, queen to d6. A very interesting approach taken here by Michael. We get knight to d2, knight out to h7. Always looks interesting, but you are potentially preparing to play f5. Also, perhaps the knight wants to venture out to g5. So, king h8 and f5 potentially likely. We get knight going to d5. Look at that idea, knight to g5. Now queen to h5. But, went here, and now I'm just plugging the hole. So your bishop has no sight towards f7. We get knight to f3. And now I'm going to e to d4. This was a weakness. You haven't played c3 and so on. So I can put my knight here on d4. And it's supported. Takes. Pawn takes, not even knight takes. We don't want to take here, because that doesn't seem to do us any favors, because we run into f4. And now I'm striking, I'm opening up the rook and so on. E takes f4, rook takes f4. Look at this. And white would be completely winning. So you have to, so knight e d4 was already a step in the wrong direction. We get c takes e4, but f4 anyway. F4 anyway. And now king h8 is, a step in the wrong direction. We get takes. We trade off the queens, but you lose c7. Rook b8, bishop to b3, bishop d7, king f2, rook fc8, kicks out the knight, and now black tries to, reconsolidate the position. They just can't. White plays king e2, we get takes, pawn takes, not even bishop takes. By the way, you and I would probably play bishop takes, but that loses. Rook takes c2 check, infiltrates. So you have to keep the bishop back and take with the pawn. And now the knight comes back, you lose f7. And now the knight comes in this way, you can play bishop a2. And when you play b4, I just go back, I go to c4. And you can try and break through, but there's no breakthroughs to be had. And Jan Karsten plays a fantastic game of chess, and he gets to the black king. His king goes for a bit of a jog, but there's nothing to be found here. You can trade off a set of rooks. This pawn is just going to promote. Your king is boxed in. It's mate 22. And Jan Karsten, he's won. And he's having a fantastic tournament. You can see on screen. He scored a victory in round 1. He drew in round 2 against FIDE master Jack van Zyl. Then a win against Judah. A win against Calvin John. And now a win against Michael Simpson. He's having a fantastic tournament. And that's why if we change the moment and we go look at the results of the open section, he leads the way. He's on 4 points. He's chased by Caleb, who got a draw today to take him to 3.5. Then there's 3 points for James Dinham and 3 points for Jack van Zyl, and 3 points as well for Judah Levitan. Then there's 2.5 each for Charleston and Banile, 2 points for Daniel Crowley, and 2 points for Michael Simpson. Had he won this game, he would be on 3 and near the top of the leaderboard, but he's struggling a little bit. And then 1.5 points each for the bottom 3 players, including Daniel Barish, who got his first victory today. But now what is going on in the ladies section? We haven't really looked at any games from there. So let's have a look. And, you know, a lot of good chess has been played this side. We have c4 from Hayley Nel, who is near the top of the leaderboard, against Chismo Boshoma. Again, near the top of the leaderboard, we get this, which is kind of like a Queen's Gambit exchange by a transposition. We get, you know, c6. We get knight to f3, knight to f6, bishop to f4, bishop to f5. And now look at this, knight to h4. Now, there is a way for you to, like, repeat moves. You can play, like, bishop c8, knight comes back, and so on. I don't think any other players are going to do that, but we have bishop f5 anyway. Anyway, bishop e6 goes back. Now queen to c2. h6. You are preparing to try and fork the two pieces. So for that reason, I go back to f3. But now there is g6. e3. Bishop to f5. I play bishop to d3. And we accept the exchange of the light squared bishops. Which is always interesting you do that because you have put a lot of pawns on dark squares. And you have a dark square bishop. But it's outside the pawn chain. So pluses and minuses. We get now bishop to d6, offering the same exchange. But I put my knight in the way. Knight to e5. Queen c7 just loses the game on the spot. It's actually quite interesting. But if I like show you the threat, you can see all the red arrows. They don't do anything because there's knight takes g6, which just wins on the spot. So the high quality chess disappears. Rook slides over. Take. Knight comes back to f4. Queen's vision is blocked, and I defend g2. And you just don't get the pawn back. We both castle long. I'm just, you know, up a pawn. I give check. I bring my knight back. I defend everything. And now it's just about converting an endgame. Still not the easiest thing to do. And knight e5, and all of a sudden the advantage is gone. Hayley Nel is still up a pawn. But black here has two moves that hold. The first one is to sacrifice the rook. Rook takes e5. D takes e5, and now the most important move that you had to find, it was the other holding move, queen g7. You are allowed to, instead of rook to g5, play the immediate queen to g7, which is what is played in the game. Rook takes e5 could have been included. We get queen to f4, and now rook to e6, rook h to f1, and now rook f6. Slight inaccuracy, queen to g4, trade, and now rook g6. It has been blundered back. The best move in this position is to play rook f3. It looks very strange, but it's the best move. And if, like, for example, knight to g1, kicking the rook back, rook f5, you can be fine with this. Rook g6 is the wrong move, because now I get rook to knight to f4, and the rook's trapped. It can't go anywhere. So you have to give up the exchange, or you have to lose a pawn. The rook could only come forwards. Obviously, you can't push your pawn and hang your knight, so you have to give up defense of h6, and this is not a fork. Please don't hang a knight. We attack the knight. It comes back. The rook slides out the way. You might say, wait, hang on. Tactics here? Can't I, like, try and sack the rook, get this, and go for this? Isn't this an idea? Yeah, but there's rook h1 at the end of the line. Getting into the back rank, looking to infiltrate, and you can't sustain this. So rook g7 was played instead. Now knight to e5, knight to f5, rook to c1, knight to d2, rook fd1, and look at this. It's still about converting, but we sack the knight to get the pawn and to try and get activity, but you don't get enough. We trade down. I've got a knight. You've got a pawn. It's not enough. It's not enough. We trade rooks. My rook gets active. Oh, sorry. It's very late when I'm recording this. Please, this game is not putting me to sleep. It was actually a very good, well-played game in the end. As the players approach the end game, it was a very nice conversion here from Miss Nel. She sacks the knight. I don't know what happened. Why she just sacked the knight for nothing. She just sacked the knight. I don't know. Brought the king. And, you know, promoted. She got the rook in the end, and she got the promotion. The players played a few more moves out of obligation. Black tries to run the pawn down the board, but there really was nothing to do it. Some players just do not want to resign. They don't like to resign. They like to play till mate. This is checkmate. You obviously, if you're online, you play this because your opponent might stalemate you. But rook b8 was the end of the game, and Hayley Nel wins. And if we change views, she leads. She leads the women's section. Dianaidu did pick up her first victory today, but Hayley now leads. She's half a point ahead of Anna Zell and Robin Julian Klassen. And then there's 3 points each for Alexi Amruni, Chloe Bandhorst, and Imkita Joya. 2.5 points for Chismo. 2 points each for Jackie Chrobola and for Dianaidu. I apologize again, I'm South African, but names, man, names. I'm good with faces, not with names. If you guys have been part of the channel a long time, you will know. A half point for Sisakile Masango. 1 point each for Kajal Naidu and for Maria Khrief. Very, very good tournament going on so far in both sections. It's worth following. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. I hope the background music that I've just realized is still playing has not been too distracting.